Hello everybody, I'm Bill Holcomb and today I'll be guiding you through how to paint this easy, beginner-friendly city landscape of downtown Miami. If you need some help with the sketching, you can download my sketch in the description, where you will also find a list of the materials used today. With the colors now mixed, let's lay a wash of clear water along the sky area. It's the mop brush that I'm using for the clear water across the sky, and come over the distant buildings, the Miami skyline buildings. Then I've gone into the winter blue at the very top using number 12 brush. As you know from description, this is Fabriano Artistico paper. You will notice that the absorbency of the pigment is slightly slower compared to the Arches paper, and especially so at this weight of 140 pounds. And that's why it's taped all around the edges. Then we've got the darker mixture starting at the top again. And then once that's done, we've got our flat brush. You can use something like a half at this stage, and dropped in a few clouds here and there, broken up below where that dark blue area is at the top of the sky. And once again, you don't really have to worry about going over some of the buildings at this stage, because they're going to be much darker. And you can see as well, I'm using that tissue to mop up some of the edges, including the pooling of water at the property area. Then resort to a smaller brush, something like a number 4 will do, and you'll see me painting in a number of the properties at the skyline for Miami, and here and there you'll see me doing a crosshatch, and I'll be dropping in some yellow and red quite strong to show the lights coming from the buildings. But this is just the start. Then I'll show you a little bit more after this section. But because it's very repetitious, then the video will jump ahead later. Otherwise, it would be an extremely long video. So dropping in some of that yellow color at this stage. Dry that off with a hairdryer. If necessary, use some tissue to mop up a little bit. And I'll come back to those to define them a little bit more later. Drop in some yellow along the area where the docks, etc. come down to the water. And now you see I'm actually doing a little bit of crosshatch, where I paint very fine lines, vertical and horizontal, and leave little spaces that will be the windows. And once that's dry on each occasion, I would then drop in some yellow and red colors to indicate the lights from the windows. And here it's enough to tell a story, as I often say. It's not massively accurate, it's very distant, but it will be convincing, as you'll see in the finished painting. It's clearly impressionist. We're not aiming for massive detail here, so it is a perfect one for beginners. A lot of people are not comfortable about massively detailed drawing for their watercolors, and therefore this one is quite appropriate. because the skyline there with all the buildings is just indicated really. It's not meticulously drawn enough to be convincing. And here you see me dropping in some of that yellow. And because I did effectively some negative painting, leaving those little squares for the windows, they show up quite nicely. And as I said, the rest on the left hand side is a replication, so that's not shown on video, but you'll see a little bit of color variation here and there, a little bit of red dropped in as well as yellow. And for these palm trees, the classic shapes, use a smaller brush. You could resort to a number 2, something like that. And you will see for the trunks, I've done some negative painting when I painted the buildings behind. I was able to leave some of the paper unpainted to help me indicate the trunks, and then dropped in some little shadow on one side. I chose this particular view because it gave me the opportunity of putting in a bit more detail on the right hand side with those palm trees and a few different shaped buildings. Then we've got the mop brush again, clear water, then yellow, then red, orangey red colour. And then at the bottom you start with your dark colours, the light blue first, then the blue mixed with Scarlet Lake, and you can be using a number 12 brush for this. And we're trying to leave that distant area where a little lighter on purpose. So dark in the foreground and then gradually lighter as it goes away into the distance. And you'll notice on this occasion that unfortunately there is an embossed name of the Artistico Fabriano on this piece of paper. So it's worth checking that before you start to paint, whether it's this paper or whether it's Arches. Arches is normally just a little tiny embossment in the corner, but for some reason on this occasion the Fabriano factory chose to put a great big lettering at the bottom. But never mind, it's a demonstration, but just watch out for that in case it's something you want to treasure and save. So dropping in with that square brush some of the reflections of the lights in the distance. Combination of mainly yellow, but occasionally a little bit of red and orange and so forth. And the flat brush is very helpful in this respect. So that's a little bit of a laborious process, you know, because there's quite a bit involved. Just gradually work your way through and dry that off with a hairdryer. Then go to your flat brush again, dip into your darkest colour, the Windsor Blue and Scarlet Lake, or darken the foreground even more, and you'll see we will eventually gradually work our way up the painting, and as we do so the lines should get thinner as they would in reality, in nature. and that will be more convincing, but the dark area at the bottom here helps push the eye up into the painting. So the paper is still wet at this stage when I'm laying down these lines. So the pigment is fusing in. So at first it will look quite dark, and as always, when you dry off, it becomes much lighter. We're right near the end of the tutorial now. And here it is. I hope you've enjoyed that. Miami skyline in the evening. Easy for beginners. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.